today we have a legendary battle rapper joining us here on Grapsody. DNA, how you doing today, my bro?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate y'all for having me. You know what I mean? I just was tweeting out the YouTube so everybody on my end could tune in. But yeah, man, I'm glad to be here, man. I've seen a lot of work that y'all been doing. Y'all podcast, Fightful in general, to the wrestling coaching community. And you know what I mean, it's amazing work. So I'm just happy I could be here and be, you know what I mean, a part of it.
Man, appreciate you coming through. I was saying before we went live, our former co-host, used to have arcade in the background, so it's like we're back, man. We got NBA Jam in the background. What's going on with you?
Chilling. So yeah, like, know what I mean, because the way the camera is set up, I wish I had like the 360. My girl got it upstairs. I would have rotated it, but I got the WrestleMania arcade, the original one. So yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
that's in there. Yeah. So I'll be tuning in to Doink the Clown, Lex Luger, all them characters on there. But yeah,
Are you
other than that, man, I'm blessed, man. Just continuing to work, man. Finding new avenues, to, you know what I mean, bring light on battle rap, bring light on myself, you know what I mean. So definitely.
I was gonna ask, are you currently preparing for a battle at the moment?
Nah. So, um, in these later days, like of my career, whatever, in terms of battle rap, I don't really battle as much as I used to.
Right.
Just because I got so many other things going on, so many other things that I'm trying to push, and I feel like I already displayed to the world, you know what I mean, what I'm capable of doing there. So now when I do battle, it has to be a very significant battle of importance, or it's you know what I mean, to bring light on other cultures into it, like what I just did with Charlie Clips. So more so like a demonstration. Like for anybody that doesn't know what we do, you know what I mean, I'll always be um ready to display that, because now just off of that one little, we did one round, we didn't even do three, but off of that one round battle, the attention that's been brought of people, because I feel like those worlds of wrestling and battle rap have always been there, but I just feel like nobody has really went out their way to connect it. So off of that one event that
Right.
I did, like the traction that's been coming from it is like amazing. So
Yeah, man, if people did not watch that, it is up on YouTube. You can watch DNA and Charlie Clips from Halloween Havoc. Dope show. Definitely cool to see wrestling and battle rap emerge. Had Samoa Joe in the building. Had Top Dollar in the building. How did that come together?
well, actually, I had a relationship with Samoa Joe for over 10 years. So
Okay.
Samoa Joe, you know what I mean? Shout out to him. He's actually responsible for me going to my first WWE event ever. So that's
Okay.
how we really connected. You know what I mean? My stepson was a big wrestling fan, and I kind of had got out of wrestling because I was a big Attitude Era wrestling fan. That's why our podcast is the Attitude Era. And
Word.
I just never got to see any of my favorite wrestlers live. So um, once my stepson was saying that he wanted to watch wrestling, I'm like, yo, I talked to Samoa Joe, and he didn't believe me. But he like, I just talked to Samoa Joe, regularly. Like he watched battle rap. I knew what he was doing in wrestling, but I wasn't tapped in. So he didn't believe me. So I was like, yo, let me ask him about SummerSlam. And he actually wound up giving me tickets. That's the first time I met him. And we always kept in contact, connected, go to shows and meet up with him, hang out. And he always wanted to come to a battle rap event, but his schedule just never permitted. So when I had seen him, I ran into him at the AEW Grand Slam event back in September. And I was like, yo, I got this Halloween Havoc thing going on in October, and it's all wrestling. So he was like, yo, if I ain't come to anything else, I gotta be here for this one. And then you know what I mean, the rest is history. Pulled up, and with AJ Francis Top Dollar, he just seen me promoting it on Twitter. And I didn't even know he watched battle rap, and he timed in like, yo, I gotta be there. And then I DM'd him, and he really pulled up. So it was amazing.
Yeah. Dollar has also said that he wants to jump in there and do some battle rap. I mean,
Yeah, so right now I'm gonna give y'all exclusive. Like right now, we actually um we definitely were gonna do other wrestling bar battle events, but I like being creative. So right now we in the process of setting up a battle rumble where it's gonna follow the concept of the Royal Rumble.
Oh
mm,
wow. That's
And
gonna be nuts.
Yeah, and you know what I mean, a lot of battle rappers is going to be in there, but wrestlers is entering it too. So we're really going to merge both worlds. So
Yo.
it's going to be crazy. Yeah. So we just came up with the format of how we're going to do it. It's going to take place in Tampa the same weekend as the Royal Rumble. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. So I don't know. Hopefully one day we could get AJ in there, but for now he's definitely on his you know, Vince McMahon with me setting up these events behind the scenes. So he's working. He's working
Nah, that sounds dope, man. Definitely keep us posted on that one.
for sure.
You know, the beyond you having this Halloween Havoc event, you're so synonymous as a battle rapper with wrestling bars. Like this isn't a new thing for you. Like throughout your entire career, you've thrown wrestling bars in there. I, as a rapper, for a while, it was like when I would say wrestling things, it felt corny. Like I would rap wrestling stuff to people, and they'd be like, "What is this guy talking about? Like, like, why are you saying these things?" And like recently, over the last a bunch of years, battle rappers like you, rappers like Westside Gun, have brought wrestling to the forefront and made it look dope instead of like looking corny. What was your motivation behind adding so many wrestling bars in there? And did you think it would connect so much with the battle rap community?
So I mean, like when I'm coming up with material, I always like to pull from from my Rolodex of like what I have a lot of information on. So wrestling
Mm-hmm.
happens to be one of the things that I was privileged to watch as a child and have a lot of um info on. But the difference from Halloween Havoc to when I'm in a real battle is I gotta tread lightly. So
Right.
all my bars and real battles are surface level. NWO, Hulk Hogan, Rock, Stone Cold, John
Mm-hmm.
Cena, maybe. Now Roman Reigns. Um, and it was like I forgot when I did one and I seen the reaction because I was always skeptical. That's why I never had too many. I just had
Right.
maybe one or two, or maybe as a setup. And when they landed, and then I'm watching Sheed Happens have one, or Snake Eyes, or Don Marino, or Jerry West, or Chess, or Z the Dropout, and I'm seeing them land. I'm like, yo, everybody's rocking with wrestling because everybody got a wrestling bar. So it was just
Yep.
like, and that's how I felt. What I felt like is exactly how you felt, Righteous. Like nobody really made it cool. It was always looked
Mm-hmm.
at, yo, you watch wrestling. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, a lot of people watch wrestling. Why are we acting like I'm the only one here that loves wrestling? We all love wrestling. Even if we don't watch wrestling now, we all watch wrestling at some point in
Right.
time. So I'm just like, yo, I just got to bring these worlds together and make people, understand it and say it's okay. Because that's the thing with life. Nothing is cool until you make it cool. So when I
Right.
first said I'm doing a Halloween Havoc event, oh, it's corny. Oh, they're gonna have the same lines. Oh, it's not gonna be nothing. A whole event about wrestling, they were frowning upon it. Now, when it actually happened, it's one of the best battle events of the year because one is fun. At the same time, everybody still was able to take it serious while still enjoying themselves. And two, they're looking at it's like a bunch of rappers coming with gun bars. How many guns are there? How many movies have guns in there? How many it never ends. So it's the same thing with wrestling. How long has wrestling been going on? So now when they actually watch the event and see, okay, so we had 10 different artists and we probably got three of the same references. Now you understand that. You know what I mean? Wrestling, you could go on for days. Like it's so many things I didn't cover. So it's just all about, you know what I mean, putting it to the forefront, and people actually have to see to believe. That's like a saying that never gets old. So now that they've seen it, now it's like it's cool. And like you said, somebody that comes from the background that West Side Gun comes from, the type of music he makes, and then shows the variation and the diversity with him as a person. Because as people, we wear many hats, right? You got to be a
Right.
friend, you got to be a husband, a boyfriend, you have to be a father, you have to be a co-worker. You're not limited, and I think that's the problem in just life in general. Everyone wants to have one variation of you. If you tough, you got to be tough 24/7, or that takes away from your toughness. When it's like
Right.
everybody has different versions to themselves, and I feel like because on a commercial industry side, West Side was able to do that. That helped with like me doing it on the battle rap side because now you see him doing it, and then now it makes it go okay. Well, if he could do it, then such a, you get what I'm saying? And we coming from two different
Right.
aspects. Like he's
Yep.
just got a podcast and he's front row, you know what I mean, looking like $1 million at all these events. And then I'm looking at it like, yo, I see so many times they do battle rap references or they got battle rap incorporated in their storylines. Why are we not using the battle rappers to do it? So that was like my whole driving force of creating the podcast and everything else. Like just create the like the connection between both worlds.
Yeah. Speaking of the podcast, Attitude Era podcast, man. Like just seeing you guys get these interviews. Like I saw you guys interview Jacqueline. You guys recently interviewed Eric Bischoff, man. So you guys are not like just like we're doing a wrestling podcast. You guys are like actually like out here
Doing it.
like talking to the wrestlers.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. We're interviewing and talking to the right because you know what it was. I never want to come from a standpoint of being fake. So I never
Yeah.
do anything that I don't love. Like I'm not just hey, I'm gonna come into the wrestling community because I know it's huge and I can make money. Like that's never my angle. So that's why it was such a niche, even name of the podcast because I'm familiar with the Attitude Era podcast. So if you watch the podcast, you will see mainly Attitude Era people on there or people that come from that time period. And then Z the Dropout, he didn't grow up in the Attitude Era. He grew up in Ruthless Aggression, PG era on. So that's why,
Hmm.
you know, we have the combo of I got all the older knowledge and he got more of the newer knowledge. And now I'm learning about what's going on now. I'm tuning back in now and he's finding out about the past. So that dynamic just makes it you know, a special thing. And then how it really started, we really didn't start it to interview um people from wrestling in general. It was just me having a love for wrestling and being a battle rapper. And it was really a shot in the dark. We started the podcast and you know, I'm verified on Instagram. And this is before, you know, the meta thing. Now everybody's verified. But this
yeah.
is when, you know, when being verified meant something. So I used my check to reach out to Devon Dudley and he didn't know who I was, but I knew he would answer because of the check, and he did. And he wound up being our first. He wound up being our first guest. And what I love is with this whole dynamic that we got is a lot of wrestlers that wrestle now know who I am, and I know who they are. But a lot of older wrestlers don't. Like, so after I interviewed Devon, now he's tuned into battle rap because I freestyle with him, and he's like, "Wow!" Like,
Let's
you know, it's
go.
almost like I'm missing out on all of this. And then I meet Rakishi, I interview him, and I freestyle for him, and he goes crazy. And then he goes back and tells the Usos, and they like, "Yo, like pops, you late? Like we've been not watching DNA." So just to bring that whole you get what I'm saying? Like, because when they
Yep.
go into the
Yeah.
interviews, you know, they don't know what to expect because they've been doing interviews forever. They don't know what type of questions are going to be asked. So I respect it on their behalf, where it's like, you know, a little reserved, like, hey, what's this guy about to? And every single time, even to D'Lo Brown, as soon as I tell them, like, yo, I freestyle and I do a demonstration, now they become fans of me. Same thing with the Godfather. So it's like an instant mutual respect, which like I feel is great because these are people I watched and admired growing up, and now they hear my craft and see what I'm doing, and now it's like really merging, you know, because that's all I wanted to really do. Like I feel like I'm just the forefront because it's a million battle rappers that you know what I mean are just as talented as me, but you know it takes somebody to be the spokesperson. So that's the illest part of it for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's dope. I mean, we do see so many rappers get podcasts. Like we got Math has his podcast. Like, of course, Joe and all these other guys have podcasts. So to see a rapper decide, like, I'm gonna do a wrestling podcast, it just seems like so like, it just seems like so outlandish. Like, word, like, okay,
Yeah. No, 1,000,000%. And that's the thing. I didn't want to be, you know, like when you sit down and do it, I don't want to do a podcast just to do a podcast. I don't want to
yeah,
do what everybody else is doing. My whole thing is like you said, besides me and West Side Gun, there's nobody else that
yeah,
really is a rapper that has a wrestling podcast. So it
Hmm.
was just like, yo, man, I love talking about this. I love like this was my life at one point. And you know, I want to like at the same time, like I said, I'm getting back into it now, learning things. Like I just did the Crown Jewel recap. I watched that whole event, top to bottom. So I'm like, yo, it's a lot of dope people now. Now, you know what I mean? Shout out to Solo too. Cause also off of that one round that I did with Clips, the Usos reached out, Solo reached out, Umaga's son Zilla reached out.
Mm.
Rikishi tapped in. D'Lo Brown watched it. So it was like Hurricane. It was so much. I'm forgetting. A lot of people just seeing what's going on. Like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm like, yo, this should have been happened because hip hop and wrestling go hand in hand.
That's very interesting that you bring those names up because there's a very famous, you talked about it a little bit, a very famous wrestling and battle rap crossover that happened in the WWE with the Usos and the New Day.
Yeah.
Wale was a part of that. You seen that? How did you feel
Yeah.
about that kind of crossover happening on a platform like that?
I thought it was amazing. I just one only issue I had, one of us, you know what I mean, should have been
Yeah,
in there.
exactly. One of y'all.
Should
Yeah.
have been in the
Hmm.
mix. You get what I'm saying? Like, cause I just feel like, it's always admiration. It's always imitation is the biggest form of flattery. So it's always dope to see that. But me personally, like I'm just authentic. So I want to bring the source there. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
I did a mixtape years ago called The Silver Cup, and I like
Yep.
remade Mama Said Knock You Out, but I had LL Cool J on the intro. So I feel like
Right.
that just adds, you know what I'm saying? I remixed Shook Ones, but I had Havoc in the video with the
Hmm.
Hennessy jerseys on. So that's always how my mind works. Like if I'm gonna ever recreate anything or do anything over, I gotta have, you know, where's the inspiration coming from being a part of it? Because that's like the extra stamp that solidifies it. So yeah, but it was dope to see though.
Yeah, for sure. Every time I see that and I hear like the Don DeMarco tag and everything on there, I'm like, this is really happening in the WWE ring. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have no idea what that is a reference to or
At
anything.
all.
Like, it's just
At
crazy.
all. At all.
Um, Man, when I think about your career, though, like I didn't know you were a wrestling fan, but when I think about your career, there's so many things that say wrestling fan. Like even like you having a slogan, you used to do the NWX joint
Hmm.
afterwards and everything. I'm like, this looks like he took cues from wrestling in some ways. Am I off?
No, you're all the way on. So like even when I cut promos from watching Ric Flair, watching The Rock, NWX. It's a variation of D Generation X and NWO. That was actually me and Conceited's idea. Like what are the two littest groups in wrestling ever? Where it was just like, they were defining the rules, doing whatever, going, just going against the system. So it was like if we're gonna do any battle rap group, it gotta be that. So that's why it was NWX. So that came from wrestling. And then yeah, it was throwing that up, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. Wrestling has always been incorporated in my career and a lot of things that I do because I feel like it was a cultural it was a cultural shift in just the world, even now. But I'm saying at that attitude era time, those are like defining moments as the world was changing. Wrestling took a big hand in shifting how people operated, how they spoke, how they moved, what was their attitude. So it was a great time just in the world in the '90s.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling definitely had that call and response too as well. So watching you do the get him the fuck out of here every time and watching the crowd get louder and louder for it every
Hmm.
time, it was dope.
It's crazy, man. I watched that. Like I said, coming into this podcast, I watched a lot of your battle raps, and interesting. You talked about kind of wanting to represent battle rap on a stage. You talked about representing, and you should have been. There should have been some kind of representation in WWE. We've seen you represent on big stages like the BET Awards. How was it doing? Like, uh, because a lot of your battles are long form, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, stuff like that. When you go to a format like that and they give you 60 seconds, what's the difference in preparation of I got 60 seconds to battle rap or I got, 20 minutes to go off on somebody?
Well, when you got longer rounds in the battle, you able to it's wrestling reference. It's a 60-minute Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, opposed
Mhm.
to the Rock versus Hurricane. I got to
Right.
make this look good real quick. This is at that point in time he's a jobber. I got 90 seconds to, what I mean, let him do two moves. I rock bottom him, do the people's elbow. So in that sense, just using that metaphor, basically I got to get straight to it. So I always know my talent that I'm able to you know be very successful in the real art form of battle rap, where it's 4 or 5 minutes around. But I also know that I am one of the few guys that is able to make battle rap look good to another culture or
Right.
subculture that doesn't really understand it. So when I got 90 seconds on BET, um, I'm just thinking I gotta say a bunch of things that resonate, a bunch of things that make these people understand what this is fast and quickly. So that comes from a lot of current events, a lot of surface level things. And I'm just straight to it, back to back punching. It's more rapid. So 60 seconds, I may have one setup line. I'm at the BET Awards. After I get that off, everything else is a punchline or a
Mm,
metaphor that they can resonate with and understand. So it's actually more challenging. A
yeah.
lot of people think
Yeah.
it's easier, but you got to get your point across way faster, and you have to wow an audience that is not really familiar with it, what it is that you do. So, I always like that challenge. That's why I do the power recaps. Now I'm doing the wrestling recaps. Like anytime you're tapping in to an audience that's not familiar, it's really like an audition. So you have to make sure your first impression is everlasting, where you get these people to leave watching the video or leave watching the battle and go, "What is this? This is amazing. Why have I not been knowing about this?" So that's what I try to do.
Yeah, man. Just throw a wrestling term in there. 60 second, get all your shit in, man. Just
Mhm.
get all your spots in. Um, man, but getting to share that stage for K Shine last year, man, how dope was that? Because you guys, of course, have done like battle raps together, the tag team. You guys had the click
Hmm.
together. Just how was it sharing that moment with him?
Oh, I mean, nah, it's amazing. It's amazing when you get an opportunity like that to be on a grand stage like BET, with somebody that you had a great rapport with, that you created history with, and you guys get to create history again. So it was super dope. You know what I mean? Just to, like I said, to share that moment, because we're on stage, and then it's up to us to, like I said, make a bunch of people leave. Like, why am I not watching battle rap? YouTube DNA, YouTube K.
You were just recently in my neck of the woods doing a 2-on-2 battle rap with the homie Charlie Clips out here in Oakland. Um,
Hmm.
you lightly christened y'all the Brothers of Destruction. How is it to tag team battle rap? That's another different element that's added in where you guys gotta collaborate on punches and timing, and it's just like a wrestling tag team. Like you got to
Yeah.
know when you guys are gonna hit the move together, when you're gonna get your shit in, when he's gonna get his in. How is it kind of putting that together?
Um, that's like it's like being in sync. It's such a dope experience because you got to be on timing with your partner. Like you said, we can't be off. So I'm looking. It's not like I could be amazing by myself, but we
Mm-hmm.
could be a horrible team, and we've
Yep.
seen that happen in battle rap so many times. Like this guy by himself is wow. And so is this other guy. But now as a team, they're not in sync. The coordination is off. The chemistry is bad. This guy's rapping over this guy. They don't know how to mesh well. So it's a challenge in that. And like people always think being the same attracts, but like opposites attract. Like me and Kayshawn, in my opinion, is the best 2-on-2 ever in battle rap history, just because we're so different. He's more of a attacker, and I'm more of strategic. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like he's gonna just full fledged bunch of energy, fuel, performance, boom, 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 and I'm more sort of guy that's gonna scheme, that's gonna outthink you, angle. So when you put those two dynamics together, you get like you get everything. Everything you're looking for in the battle, you get it there. So like I've teamed up with a lot of people, but the top two would be Charlie Clips and Kayshawn. But me and Kayshawn would be more like the Road Warriors, the Hardy
Mm-hmm.
Boys, um, Usos, New Day, Edge and
Mm-hmm.
Christian, the Dudley Boys. And me and Charlie Clips, I would say we're more like the Brothers of Destruction or DX, because
Mm-hmm.
we got our great solo careers, and even when we come together as a team, it's fire. But our best work isn't as a team. When as the Hardy Boys, you could say literally their best work is them being tag team partners. Same thing with the
Mm-hmm.
Road Warriors. Same thing with Edge and Christian. Same thing with the Dudleys and the Usos. So that's the difference from those two teams.
Man, I don't know if other people have picked up on this, but like AEW shows in Atlanta and AEW shows in Queens are different. I've noticed every time Grand Slam is a thing, there are more rappers there. Like you see Fab there, you see like Who Kid and like all these other people there from the culture. And so like seeing you pull up and do like the Attitude Era stuff last year, it has just like confirmed for me that like Grand Slam is kind of like it's kind of like the spot for hip hop guys to show up.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm cool with Prince Nana, I'm cool with Swerve, I'm cool with Teasy, I'm cool with Shotty Lee, Samoa Joe. So last year, yeah, Shotty Lee got me back there, and then I was just facilitating the interviews and freestyles and podcasts, and it was amazing. That was my first time actually um backstage at an AEW event, and then I followed up and went this year. But yeah, last year I seen Fab, Who Kid. Yeah, it was a star-studded event. It was a lot of people in the building.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the culture represented that way. Because I think at one point AEW was just seen as like I don't want to say just like for niche fans, but a lot of people would be like, "Man, this ain't for us." And you know what I mean when I say us.
Yeah.
So when you see things like that in Queens, and you see people like Fab pulling up, Fab's coming with his son. His son's a wrestling fan. It's just dope to see it.
No, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. It was. I wound up seeing Fab backstage, so yeah, it was definitely lit.
That's a pretty good transition because you're a Queens rapper. I have a question about that. What is it about y'all Queens brothers? What's in the water out there? Why are there so many great rappers that come out of Queens? Is it I don't know what I watch all these. I've been immersed in hip hop history because of the 50th anniversary, and like the line is all the Queens rappers just spit. What is it about Queens?
Ah man, I mean, everybody got a different story. Everybody got a different generation, but I mean, just growing up in Queens anyway. For me, is just like being a product of your environment. Like me, fortunately, I um I did a couple things that you would require, I guess. You know what I mean, under the street umbrella, but more so, I knew what I wanted to do with being a rapper, so I kind of shied away from that. But a lot of my friends got caught up in that, family members, so I got to see it just good enough without actually getting all the way in it and having to get out of it. So
Mhm.
when you got that lens of being close, because everybody in life likes to be close to danger, but you really don't want to be in it. It's very few that actually want to
Mhm.
put their feet in it. And those are the ones that where they wind up having these crazy stories. So I was able to be right at the door, but always, you know what I mean, keep myself on the other side of the door. But just seeing that and growing up in circumstances where, you on SSI, you on like my mom, I'm saying on SSI, on Section 8, on food stamps, and just know that my mom's would have took care of me. Um but what type of living is that? Like barely making ends meet. I always, once I seen that and I seen my circumstances and seen growing up how it was, I always wanted to do more. So that mindset put me into, yo, this rap thing that I like to do. Maybe I can make something out of this, which took it serious to say like, yo, I don't want to depend on nobody else that barely has it. I want to be able to do it myself and then be able to do it for them. And that was always my motivation and my driving force. And I feel like in them circumstances of, not just Queens, like any Oakland, wherever you from, any bad environment is always gonna make, you get those people that rise to that occasion because you have no other option. You put a kid in an environment where he gets everything that he wants his whole life. 9 times out of 10, he's not going to turn into 50 Cent or LeBron James because he got everything he needs. You put
Right.
you put the circumstances of 50 Cent, who doesn't know his father. His mother burns up in a fire. You only hear stories about it. He's in Southside, barely making ends meet. You just see that hunger and that drive that turns into this multi-million-dollar mogul that, you know what I mean, we see today. Same thing for LeBron. I heard there was like one point where his mom was too broke to take care of him. So he's living with family members. When you deal with those type of circumstances, you only get, success and that adversity story where the person comes up from poverty to being one of the most successful people. And I mean, that's just, like I said, I didn't have it the worst, but I didn't have it great either. A lot of things I wanted,
Mhm.
I couldn't get. I seen my mom struggle, seeing her go through her health issues and all that. And it was really like, what am I going to do about this? Am I going to turn into, you know what I mean? She had battles with drug abuse. Am I going to turn into that, or am I going to go the whole other opposite route? And I was just like, nah, I'm going to go that way. So I feel like environment always makes always make success stories.
Definitely. Man, into some wrestling, I guess, because I'm sure there's some people like, man, y'all just gonna hit into battle rap or the rap the whole time. But you said like you grew up, of course, in the Attitude Era. I think most people that were introduced to wrestling, they came up during the Attitude Era. Um, just watching wrestling now, like, what would you say is like the difference? Because I think a lot of people are like, how do we get back to that place where it's a pop culture thing? Like, I don't know what for you feels different about wrestling right now.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not wrestling, it's the world. The way the world is ran today, the Attitude Era could not exist. Wrestling
Yeah,
would get canceled. And a bunch of people
exactly.
Definitely.
and a bunch of people that would do the things that were done in the Attitude Era would get canceled as well. So it's impossible to do it. It's like a lot of people in the wrestling community, it's not a favorite name to say, but you got to give credit where it's due. Vince Russo was able to you know see what was going on at that time and incorporate it into wrestling. At that time period, it was anti-hero, it was rebellious, it was baggy jeans, it was, you know, just the rebellious behavior, like going against the system type of error. And then they provided that in wrestling with, the biggest wrestler of that time period, Stone Cold. Stone
Mhm.
Cold was saying a bunch of things that people wanted to say to their boss that they couldn't. That's why that's one of the greatest storylines ever. So the difference now is if you're watching it now, the wrestling might be better. So that's good for people that actually want to become wrestlers. It's definitely way more kid friendly, so your kids can actually enjoy watching it now, and you don't have to say, "Hey, what did he just say?" or mute it or turn it off. But if you are somebody that watched it when I watched it, I can't erase what I saw.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah,
For me, it's like, all right, this is cool. I could actually let my daughter watch this if she turned to be a wrestling fan. But this is not, it's kind of like one of them older things. You feel old, like, and back in my day, this would have happened. The table would have been there. They would have set it on fire. It'd have been an infernal match. Jade
Sounds
and
like hip
Bianca.
hop, DNA.
Yeah, Jade and Bianca would have been doing a bra and panties match, and you just start thinking of
yo,
all those, all those
Word.
that sounds
you
crazy.
start thinking of all those crazy, variables that you would think would happen. But I mean, I like that from the time period that I watched it to now, it's still afloat and it actually makes more money now. And
Yeah.
it is still a great product, even though it has changed drastically. That's very hard to do. Usually, when you have somebody that is used to a product being a certain way, it is very hard to change the product and still grow because now you're gonna have a lot of people that don't like it because you took so many things away from it. But I will say this: the closest thing to the Attitude Era right now in wrestling is the Bloodline story.
Mm.
That
Mm.
storyline is the closest thing to the Attitude Era. I feel like that could survive in the Attitude Era.
Mm. I mean, they family, so that doesn't that kind of makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of what you were describing there about pro wrestling. There's a lot of parallels with battle rap because I remember the first battle rap I ever saw was probably in 2000, like early 2001,
Mm,
like in Bakersfield, people were battle rapping in the hip hop shops, and like battle rap comes from the streets, like straight up.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now
fact.
with some of these events, it's WrestleMania, man. Like these Smack events are huge, giant crowds. There's promotion. Drake's putting on shows. There's like all kinds of like it's transitioned from being the rawest form of hip hop to being like a global phenomenon led by people like you. How do you feel in that transition? I mean, you've helped with a lot of it. Is it in a good place right now, you think?
Yes and no. It's in a great place in terms of financially. Battle rappers are making the most money that they ever made in the history of the art form. But in terms of the actual art form, when it turns into an industry, with wrestling, right? Like let's just call a spade a spade. How much iller was it when The Rock and Triple H was doing that Iron Man match? It's 4-4. The whole corporation is in the ring, and you see those kids pop up with dresses, and we've never heard this Undertaker music ever
Mm-hmm.
before. And it's this, we don't even know that this is the Undertaker because we used to the doom dum, and he pops out on the motorcycle and tears them all apart. Now, if CM Punk shows up on the 25th, we already know. We already hearing about it. CM Punk is coming back, y'all. We see that they updated his profile on WWE. They changed the picture.
Mhm.
He'll be back. So you see what I'm saying? Like, so that's battle rap now. You know matches before they get announced. People dive into people's lives to where it used to just be about who's better. Now, I
Right.
heard this person slept with this person. This person got robbed here. This person got beat up here. And it's just a bunch of things that don't matter. So I feel like that
Mm.
is the way the world is now. Everything is you know what I mean? Everything is instant gratification and it just spoils certain things. So that's my takeaway from battle rap. And then now you got people, because this is like, it's great, right? Wrestling makes the most money it makes now, but you have people that just show up to wrestling events because it's a casual thing to do.
Yes.
Right.
Like a guy be a big wrestling fan and he'll take his girl out. Like, hey, babe, our first date is Survivor Series because it's in Chicago. So that happens in battle rap now. Now it's people that don't even really watch battle rap, but they're going because it's a casual thing now. So now you get a crowd of people that's just there that don't know the art form, so they don't know what to react to. So they're
Mm.
reacting to
Yeah.
anything. Or it's a
Wow.
popularity contest. I'm not even coming to see who's better this night. I'm coming to see because I know this is the only
Right.
place
Tay
I can
Rock
see
is
him.
here. I'm cheering for Tay Rock because he's here. That doesn't matter what he says.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that kind of ruins the battles. That's why if y'all watch, right, with all the names that I had on Halloween Havoc, I could have sold out a venue. I could have had 500 to 700 people in there. But notice where it's at. It's in my guy Uncle Ra 15 Minutes of Fame studio because I didn't want that to happen. I want
Mhm.
everybody to hear every wrestling ball. I don't shout out to y'all, but I don't want you just showing up because you're a DNA supporter and you know nothing about wrestling. Because now you're gonna be standing there and it's taken away from it. I need everybody here to be, you know what I mean? I need it to be an intimate setting for what I'm trying to do. And I feel like sometimes now, these big audiences, it kind of takes away from battling because they're not really listening to what's being said. They're just there to, okay, it sounds like I should react now. Or I don't like the way this
This
person's
is
dressed.
awesome.
Yeah. I don't like the way I
We
don't like
want tables.
yeah, I don't like the way this person's dressed, so I'm not gonna cheer for them. So, it's give and take. I feel like that's what any industry as it grows. But I got a question for y'all.
Yeah.
From watching me versus Charlie Clips, what was y'all favorite wrestling bar that I had in the battle?
I think the USA line
The
that got
USA
me
line's
that got
crazy.
me up out of my seat. I'm like, yo, no,
Mm.
that was
As
fire.
somebody like also from that era, just like knowing like they're on USA now, but like the connection to WWE and USA and like putting those things together is like
Yeah,
that's
nah,
it right there. That's all
Yeah.
you need.
that
Okay,
entendre was
yeah.
crazy too, man. Like I was like,
Hmm.
nah, that was fire. There's a few other lines in there that I was just like, nah, he was going in on it, man. Like even like the Godfather line towards the beginning of it, I was like, man, that
See,
probably went over some heads, man.
exactly what you were describing about not having the big crowds. You couldn't get that Godfather, that whole scheme off with like just a regular big battle rap crowd. You got to know that he played these different characters. You got to
Yeah.
know the history of pro wrestling to really get into the bars.
Yeah, so like that's why I asked y'all just to break it down for the people that didn't, because y'all got a whole different audience here that probably never seen the battle. But when y'all get a chance, DNA versus Charlie Clips, it's an all wrestling bar battle. So everything said in the battle is a wrestling reference. But like for instance, right, just to break it down for the people on here. So I'm battling my brother. His name is Charlie Clips. We all know the Godfather's real name is Charles Wright. And Clips has a habit of not writing in his battles and freestyling. So that's why I said, um, your favorite wrestler must be the Godfather because we don't never see Charles Wright. But
It's crazy.
depending on the rooms that we in, it's the subtle lines that come after that are key. That when you're battling in a big audience, you can't do that. So then after, that's why I said word to Mustafa. I came to calm a nigga down because you played Kama Mustafa.
Comma.
And I said, so he won't gain support. Yeah, I know the Godfather's real name is Charles Wright. Yeah, I came to mess up y'all whole train of thought. So it's like the whole scheme of, you know what I mean, doing all that, you can't get that off with a big stage because I would have just had to just do Charles Wright and then
Hmm.
go on to something else. So that's
Hmm.
the ill part about battling in a smaller setting. You get to actually build on the idea more. So
Yeah.
like though for me, it was like the things that I was able to do with the extras. But like, yeah, the Mexican, because my friend Don Marino is Mexican, so I put that on USA like Monday Night Raw. Yeah, I
Hmm.
thought that was like super creative. But yeah, I like that. I me personally, I really like the bars like I said with Charles Wright. Like when I was able to do all those pay-per-views and then the singing is guess which room I'm in? I'm in your house.
In
Like
your
I be
house.
liking those because they really go for the person I'm battling.
Hmm.
Then it just be a random wrestling bar. You get what I'm saying? Like even when I
Yeah.
was like, because Charlie Clips is from Harlem. So when I was like, yo, I know the fastest way to Harlem, don't try to play games. We could change lanes, let his brains hang. So try and test, and I'm letting nose ring on the A train. Like I like
Mm.
those type of
That's
bars
crazy.
because you got to take the A train to get to Harlem, and then the wrestling references Test teamed up with the A train, and A train Albert had the
Had
nose
the
ring. So
yeah.
that's why I'm like, to me, all of those bars go crazy. Like one more is like Bret Hart, I'm the excellence of execution. When you battle T Rex, you was never losing. You had a lot of flair with Randy, but after that, we seen no evolution. And then for the people
Mm.
that don't know, Charlie Clips battled T Rex. T Rex's real name is Randy. And then you know the wrestling
Oh,
reference, Ric Flair with Randy Orton. And then after that, you know what I mean, they was in the group Evolution. So for me, that's what I tried to do in the battle. I tried to just make a bunch of references that really apply to my opponent. So it's like a deeper level of, the metaphors than just the random. I had the random ones. You'll see a piece of his wig like Kane when he took the mask off, but I
mhm.
wanted to do things that really connected to clips.
Nah, man. Definitely getting it off. This is, if you're listening
Wow.
to us, this is 14 plus years in of battle rap, man. Ain't for just
Still.
novices, man. This is a legend.
Nah,
Just
appreciate
you
that. Appreciate
describing
that.
that, I'm like, as a rapper, I'm like, battle rappers are the Brian Danielson of hip hop because like they are the best. They're the most technical. Like it's like, how do you put this together? How do you do that? Like when I watch Brian Danielson matches, I'm like, how do you do this differently than this guy does?
Yeah,
But like the way like y'all put words together is way different. It's on a different level. But some people might not see y'all as because you're not mainstream, you're not selling a million records, you're not on the level as Drake and J. Cole and stuff as like a different level, but you guys are technically better rappers than all those guys. So it's like it's all these parallels are just so interesting. Thanks for putting on that battle because like you're merging these things that I've loved for my entire life. I've always wanted hip hop and wrestling to come together like this because hip hop wrestling bars are like old as time. Like
yeah,
Q-Tip was get them off, RZA, like there's all these like different wrestling bars that go back. And now it's like come to the forefront. And like I said, it's fun, it's dope. You guys are adding a really dope element to it. What's the do you still have any battle rap goals? Like are there still rappers that you want like to battle? There's still people on the list that you want to tear down? Or are you in like the ambassador mode that you're in?
yeah. I'm more so like it's a couple people that's running. You know what I mean? Which you know that always happens. You know what I mean? But on a larger scale, I feel like you got to know when things shift for you. Like I know I'm more of an asset business wise. I'm more of an asset doing things like this at this point in my career than just to be the guy that's just hanging around, lingering around. Because I can, you know what I mean? Like I haven't lost a step at all. I've actually gotten better because I really take my craft serious. But I know, you just gotta know. Like I'm really in that regard. I'm really spiritual in terms of myself and the universe and just knowing what path is set out. Like I just know where I'm more useful for. I'm more useful
Right.
like doing this, like connecting the wrestling world and the battle rap world for a bigger landscape than to just keep battling. You know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but everything in life is evolving and growing. So
And
I
you've
won't
battled
battle.
everybody anyways already.
Yeah, and there's no point, in me battling 20 times a year when I've already proven like I'm, if
Mhm.
not the greatest doing this, one of the greatest doing this. So let me introduce what I do to another world that therefore will trickle down to um other people getting these opportunities once I'm able to open the door. Like I want to be the guy that opens the door, like I said, fully blown, with wrestling and battle rap, and I foresee it. I already foresaw it happening. That's what made me do the event. And then, when I'm doing it, I did that all myself. I paid for it out of pocket. I put the card together. I hand selected all the matchups on the card because I knew
Mm.
I need this person to do this. Like that's key with everything. Like, you know what I mean? I can't just say, oh, we got DNA and Charlie Clips and boom, I think the card is good. No, I need chess because chess IQ and wrestling is higher than mine. I need
Yep.
Danny Myers, even though you might not watch wrestling like that, his energy and his dynamic
Energy.
with me.
Yeah.
Don Marino because his wrestling IQ is good. Jerry West versus Don Marino because Jerry's a performer. So even though he don't know wrestling, he could bring a lot of wrestling moves to life. Zeta Dropout because, you know what I mean, his wrestling IQ is high. So is the guy Osiris, and then Snake Eyes and Sheed. They watch wrestling like the rest of us do. So it was all needed. So I handpicked everybody, knowing like, all right, they're all gonna bring something to this event that's gonna overall make people say, yo, we need more of this. And that's exactly what happened.
For sure. Man, what do you make of? Because I think about this as a podcast. I try not to listen to as many podcasts as I used to because it tries to like flood into what your ideas are for a podcast. But
Definitely.
like listening to current hip hop, man, we've heard so much this year about how hip hop is like in like a down. It's like on a down note because there's so many records that are coming out that are not hidden. Like there's so many. There's not any big records this year other than like the Drake and like the Offset and some stuff. What do you make of just like the state of hip hop this year?
Um, the state of hip hop in general, I feel like the problem in hip hop, we could correlate this to battle rap, we could correlate it to wrestling, you can correlate it to anything in life. So the problem for me is people get too caught up in labels. So if I come out right now with an album, the newer audience or the newer rappers that can't do what I'll do, they'll say, yeah, that album was fire, but he was just rapping. He was just doing some old school shit.
Hmm.
Mm,
And then a lot of people that really rap get mind fucked by that. Can I curse on that?
Yeah.
All right,
sure.
yeah. They get mind fucked by that. And now you'll try to attempt to do something that's not your lane. And I feel like that's what happens in wrestling. That's like, oh, you only good in you know, squash matches. Like for instance, like a Goldberg or a Jade Cargill, when their matches is only 2-3 minutes, and now they'll try to do a longer match. But if that's not your strength, why are you trying to appease to somebody that is not the audience that wants to see that? So I feel like the
Mm.
real rappers in hip hop, they're more so worried about what people are saying they can't do, which I believe they can do. They just choose not to do it, and they do what they do at their best, and doing what they do at their best. And it's not being put at the forefront because people want to be political. Nobody's saying, all right, there's nothing wrong with this type of music, but this is not hip hop. I don't know what other name we need to call it because it's dope in the lane that it is, but it's not practicing hip hop. So I feel like people don't want to burn relationships, so they'll let it slide or they won't really speak their piece, and everybody just wants to. Everybody wants to get in the game. Nobody wants to change the game. That's the difference in hip hop.
Mm,
When you had the 90s, everybody was trying to change the game. That's why you got a DMX. That's why you got a Nas. That's why you got a Big. That's why you got a Pop. That's why you got Wu-Tang. That's why you got all these different variations of, yo, even if you dope, if you sound like somebody else, I don't want to hear you. Cut that shit off. That's the
Hmm.
infamous Ghostface skit with them with the biting. Right? That was a knock the big. Because they felt
Yep.
like he was biting off a Nas with the baby on the cover. Now you can get somebody that comes out that sounds just like somebody else, and everybody's gonna be like, "This is dope, though." So it's like once you start letting those little things slide, in the long run, you lose sight of the actual thing that happens. Then, you know, New York radio stops playing real hip hop. So now the whole trajectory of what it is now no longer based on lyricism. It's based on, oh, well, look what he said. Levels are based on your stature and billboards. And then nobody ever really explains what goes into that. So it takes money to make money. Yeah, such and such got a billboard and you know about him because they put $5 million into his project.
yep.
So that's the weird part about like when you say state, not even this year in general, it's just the politics outweigh the talent. And
Mm.
until somebody makes the talent outweigh the politics, we'll always be in this space of a bunch of dope people that get overshadowed and overlooked because people made it about a bunch of things other than lyricism. You go, how popular is this guy? How many records does he sell? Not is he better than such and such? Is he good?
Nah,
So yeah.
that's
Another parallel, another hip hop and wrestling parallel, straight up.
a lot of great insights there, man. Because you're right. Because there are a lot of clones out here. There are a lot of dudes that's trying to sound like this guy, or trying to sound like this guy. And man, from a certain era, you can get run up on doing that. You
Yeah,
get knocked the
right.
fuck out doing that. Like
Now you taking my style, like, and my whole thing is like, I'll be lying if I told you I don't got inspiration from certain rappers. Of course, we all do. Or if you really, really listen, you can't pinpoint like, oh, where did DNA get that? But it's nothing obvious. When you hear DNA, you hear DNA because I've added my own twist to it and
yeah,
mastered it to where it's my style. You know what I mean? You can get inspired to hear from and hear from different people and take from it too, but it can't be obvious. Like I know people that Big took from. But you got to
Yep.
be a real hip hop head to know that. But he still put it
Mhm.
in his own way. Therefore, he was original.
for sure. I don't know. Is there anything this year, like album wise, that you're like, this is like, this is like my album of the year. This is what I've been like rocking with the heaviest this year.
I'm gonna be honest, no. But my brother Rain just told me Jeezy's album is crazy, so I gotta
Mm.
tap into that. I gotta see what that's about.
The Jeezy album is good. It's long. It's what like
Well, let me let me
29.
change let me
It's
change
29
that. Let me
records.
change. Let me change that. One of my but my favorite project this year is Lloyd Banks, Cody 3, Corson and Evan.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
that's the one that I'm like, yo, this is real. You know what I mean? This is real hip hop, and he's you know what I mean. He's underrated. A lot of people overlook what he's been
Definitely.
doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's
Mhm.
dropped 3 projects in 3 years. Just dropped the fourth one, Halloween Havoc. So um, yeah, if you just listening for hip hop and somebody that's just you know what I mean, going. And then on Cody, like Halloween Havoc is more like mixtape banks, but Cody, he's in that pocket, like got the song about his daughter. You know what I mean? He got the song about what he's going through, how he got to where he's at now. So it's a lot of, you know what I mean? It's a lot of practicing hip hop there. And then he got them joints where he's just styling, where he's just in his pocket, you know what I mean, rhyming on a high level. So yeah.
That's what's up. We got a couple of super chats before you slide on out of here.
Okay.
Our homie Eloquent says, "Oh snap! DNA in the house. Seeing you live at King of the Dot a few times. Salute."
Yeah, appreciate you, my guy. Good looking, good looking. I don't know which one. I had a lot of King of the Dot battles. I don't know if it's Disaster, Thesaurus, Sharon. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I love battling in Canada. Shout out to King of the Dot.
That's what's up. Shout out to our homie Eloquent. Check out Eloquent's project on his Bandcamp. Orion Ben 666 says wrestling and battle rap come from the same DNA, 100%.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. I really, like I said, I already told you I battle Rumble going down in Tampa, but you know what I mean? We're gonna try to do these battle rap wrestling events quarterly. So we definitely keeping it going and making connections and bridging the gap.
Oh, I was gonna ask if it was just gonna be once a year with the Halloween, but you're gonna uh, in, ramp it up and do even more.
Yeah, we back in January and then we'll be back in April.
Okay.
And then we'll probably be back like in August and then we'll do like you know what I mean? We might not call it Halloween Havoc too. We might do No Mercy. Remember that used
Hmm.
to go down in October too. So yeah.
Right. Yo, I might have to pull up to that January show. Is that the one where Mega Ran's a part of that too?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Me,
Yeah.
AJ, and Mega Ran is putting it together. Yep.
That's what's up. All right, yeah, I'm gonna have to see what's up with that. And then Chaos Control says, as a fan of both battle rap and wrestling, I've always said battle rap was more like wrestling than the NBA.
I agree. I agree. I've always said battle rap and wrestling the similarities, you know what I mean, is there. That's why after the next event, we getting belts too. Like, yeah, we going full fledged. We gonna start getting belts. And you know what I mean? We're not gonna go too crazy, but we gonna have storylines. Like obviously the battles won't be scripted, but leading up to it, a lot of things will be scripted in it.
Excited. That's the super chats.
See, I think we got one humper for you, one humper chat from Bizarro Big L. He says, "Respect DNA. You and Reg got them big homies. Good check out DNA. What's your suggestion of good places to start?" And Reg, what's with WW trying to powerhouse on Von Wagner? There's only one powerhouse when he's coming on the podcast.
Yeah, well, I recommend this a couple of DNA battles before you get out.
Well, for all my wrestling heads in here, first and foremost, go watch DNA versus Charlie Clips. That's
Mm-hmm.
on my YouTube right now. All wrestling bars battle, because that's the best of both worlds. But just to see me in my other form when it's battle rap, DNA versus Ill Will, DNA versus Disaster, DNA versus Mickey Fax. Those three
Mm-hmm.
right there. You know what I mean? That's my top three.
Yeah, I know so many people that will say you versus Disaster is what got them into battle rap. That was like their
Yeah,
first big battle they watched.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I hear that a lot too.
I think that's all the humper chats that at least had a question for DNA.
Yeah.
All right, bet y'all. Appreciate y'all for having me on, man. Definitely after the live is done, I'm gonna keep sharing it out so they can watch what y'all do too. But I'm gonna definitely promote it. You know what I mean? And this won't be the last time we on there, man. I definitely got to pull back up again.
For
Same
sure,
for
for
we got to
sure.
pull up on the Attitude Era podcast
Yeah,
too
for
real
sure.
soon.
Come through.
Yeah,
Appreciate you, big dog.
All right,
appreciate you.
gotcha.